Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How are you?
I'm high on green meanies, Rachel. I've taken too many of those green meanies. They make you feel good at first, then they make you feel bad later. I fell in with a bad crowd. Doctors. Oh, those nefarious doctors.
They prescribed you without considering the implication.
But they knew that I was an in vitro at heart. And so, hey, I also learned a thing today, Rachel.
Yeah?
And you can confirm this being a woman. The weak spot to every woman is the back of the neck. That's what the Lady of the Night in R&R described as a truth of the universe. Thoughts?
I don't... Maybe for all in vitro women?
Know one thing, Lieutenant. Every girl's weak spot is the back of her neck.
It's time to give the spiel. We're YumYumPodcast because we are a podcast that references every single episode the line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery, Yum Yum, in which a character, a person, said the words Yum Yum in reply to a rather serious situation. It came out of nowhere. It was truly wild, totally off, totally and tonally off, and really, this is an episode of Space Above and Beyond because we are watching Space Above and Beyond. We're going through it beat by beat, moment by moment. And the one we're talking about today is an episode where every character should have said yum yum at some point. There's not one person, it's everyone, even McQueen.
Even the doctor and the nurse?
Oh, they prescribed Yum Yum right into Hawk's veins. But let's hear that DVD description, Rachel, of episode, what number is this now? 19, I want to say we're up to. I'm trying to recollect where we are in the grand scheme of Space Above and Beyond.
Can confirm it's 19. R&R, suffering from combat fatigue. The 58th is granted liberty aboard the Bacchus, a recreational pleasure ship where it's said anything can and does happen.
That is it. That is the episode. So people, if you have not watched this one before, we recommend you give it a viewing yourself. And out of all of the episodes of Space Above and Beyond, definitely watch this one. It's unlike any other because just to get into my history and relationship with this episode it is one that confuses me. Confounds and profounds me. I found it very profound. It is just bizarre. It's got all of the elements of Space Above and Beyond, and yet it also has these things in there that just don't line up, and yet I can't necessarily say they don't belong here.
It doesn't work.
It's a mess.
Together.
It's a mess of an episode. Yeah, I found it more interesting than last week's Pearly. I enjoyed this more than Pearly, yet I would say it's a worse episode. Like, structurally, tonally, character-wise, and yet I found myself genuinely smiling at what was on screen and being engaged by it more often. This is also one of those types of episodes that doesn't have a plot necessarily. It's a series of little plots for each character. Vignettes. And we just had Dear Earth, which was a more successful version of this idea. So it also sticks out more because we're pairing it really closely to one that did this so much better. So overall, R&R is an infamous episode in my recollections because it has Coolio in it.
Yeah.
It's on a pleasure ship. I was expecting it to be
What band was it that was performing again?
Great question. Great question. People, let us know.
They were in the credits.
The Keepers or something? I don't remember. But I remember this one being far, far, far more egregious and terrible in quality, but I actually rather enjoyed myself when sitting down to view it today. Now, Rachel, what did you think of R&R? Because you did predict that, we're going to have a little bit of R&R, but it's going to be interrupted by some chig action, and that's literally what happens.
Yes.
But what was your overall journey experience and thoughts on this?
I don't quite know how to explain my journey with this episode. Because it's such a mess. I was reacting very strongly to things. There were low lows and there were high highs and there were what the fucks and there were fuck yes. All tangled up together. That's the best way that I can think to describe my journey with this episode right now.
And did you like it? Or did you not?
It's a mess, but overall I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's good.
When this series has had messy episodes, ones that you would not describe as good, you would describe them more viscerally as bad than you are at the moment with R&R. Mm-hmm. So just on that level, what differentiates this type of messy bad episode in comparison to previous and equally messy bad episodes of Space Above and Beyond where you've looked less favorably upon those than this?
It helps that this episode isn't taking itself very seriously. I think that leads to me being more forgiving of it because they know that it's the weird and wacky one, and the fact that things don't join up quite as well as they could have or ideally should have. It's just like, we're like going to this and this and this. And in this particular episode, I found that a relief. The quick changes between all of the storylines and all of our characters and the way that they were sort of paired up. I liked the different sides of the characters that we were getting to see a little bit. And some of them I enjoyed and some of them I didn't.
I am curious to know this because I was scratching my head about this issue. Do you think that this is more digestible because we've been into the show 19 episodes? If this was episode 5, would you have hated it?
Yeah.
Even if it was the same?
Yes. Because I particularly enjoyed Vance's story in this, and that wouldn't work the same and would feel very different if it came that early in the show.
Oh, yes, and that's about that specific detail, but I just was wondering because if you revisited some of those lesser than episodes from the earlier days of this season, now that you've consumed more of Space Above and Beyond, do you think you would look upon them equally as you did before, or would they be more favorable to you? I'm just curious about that.
I think all of them I would feel differently about in one way or another, and I would feel differently if I went back and watched them after I finished the show, I'm sure.
Today's assignment is to report to the Aerotech vessel Bacchus for 48 hours liberty. That includes you, Colonel McQueen.
To me, R&R is bad. It's a bad episode, but it has little bits and bobs and nuggets and chunks of things that I like because I personally like these characters. Mm-hmm. It's what I said in Dear Earth. I like an episode where it's a day in the life, or we have a loose framework to hang off all of these little character stories off of that don't all have to bleed together, but thematically they may link, or just it lets us get an understanding of how they all treat each other as friends. They aren't always the most heavy episodes, but they're the ones
relationships.
that I often connect with. This isn't very good, but that type of episode still is ringing to me, even though I can say that this isn't good. I still like it because it's the type of episode I'm naturally drawn to. I always have a soft spot for these.
You're more forgiving.
I'm more forgiving, but also it is just they know how to play me more with these ones in comparison to, say, The Farthest Man from Home, where it's like, now watch Nathan West be a fuckhead. In this one, when Nathan West was a fuckhead, there was actual dramatic weight to it, and I actually felt bad for the dude. But let's get into some of the beats of this. So it actually starts out really strong, in my opinion. I thought the first act of this episode, before they arrived at the pleasure ship itself, was really
the setup for why they're getting leave was
the setup was one of those where it felt like a response to things we've been going through about how they're really under the pressure of the job and they don't get any time off. Back-to-back missions, and even McQueen is getting tired, and he's just, they've worn him out.
The body has limits.
The body and the mind have limits, because it's also about the mind. So talk to us a bit more about the opening of this episode and your overall thoughts on it as it unfold.
We jump straight into some action. We are getting to see those magnificent ships.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a patrol. They encounter some chigs after they've established that everybody's really fucking tired.
West the most. He fell asleep at the wheel.
Yep.
Almost crashed into Shane.
Mm-hmm. And he's not with it enough to help Hawks immediately. So Hawks gets injured because of West. He wasn't there to, cup Hawks' ass like it was his own.
He wasn't communicating. He was slow on the reaction time, and then he was wild. And to give the show credit as ongoing continuity, but also within this singular sequence, they make it very understandable, this fuck up, this mistake. It's not one of those where I especially get this with Star Trek of this era, especially of the 90s, where they introduce some plot, some conflict, and I cross my arms going, okay, like, I'll do it, I'll watch it, I guess, but this is just, okay, we're going to do this.
You needed drama here, did you?
And I put my hands on my hips. See, I've uncrossed my arms, I've unfolded my arms. I put my hands on my hips and go, oh, fuck off with that.
Oh, like, really? You're going to do that dumb shit?
There's a version of this story right here where Nathan West is so sleepy from being overworked that he nearly kills Cooper, because he's a fuckhead, that could have made me angry. Yet there's a level of subdued
it's played
to it.
Out nicely.
And it's followed through.
It's the way that it's presented, not what it is.
And the follow through on it is very quiet as well. There's no bombacity to it all. There's that I thought was probably a highlight of West throughout this season. And he's had so many. This was the conversation he was having with Shane in their bunks, and she falls asleep during it. But they had a little bit of the fun there, the dramatic, the angst. His ego was also in there, where he was commenting about how he's the best of the fighters, and then she's like, oh, after me. And then he's like, oh, and he skips over her and goes, well, after McQueen. And it's like, literally everyone else is better than West as a pilot.
Yeah.
Like, she's better, Cooper's better, McQueen's better, Wang's better. Wang's proven himself to be better.
Yeah.
Danfu's probably equal to West, because we don't see her do as much like shooty. She's more about engineering. But I thought that moment there where he put the seriousness on what happened there, but it was a level of drama being played where there was, as we've seen with this character, sensibility and maturity. He came at it from a very reasonable place.
So much. And it's not, oh my God, what have I done? I almost cost him his life. Oh my God, my emotions here are the center. It's a wake-up call.
And it's not they're working us too hard, those bastards. Don't they know that we are only we're expendable. Like, blah, blah, blah.
It's not we need R&R because we're grinded to the bone. They can't push us any further.
They're not using the character to directly and overtly and ham-fistedly express the plot of the episode or the themes or to basically bitch. They're not doing that. They're using him to actually give him a moment, because he doesn't get a lot to do in this episode. He has quiet, that's the thing. Nathan West has become a very quiet character.
And he's often the assist.
He's often the assist, and I'm fine with that because I think he can work as that far better than the lead, but when he does get into the lead role, he's really good. The actor's really solid, as we've always praised. But that was probably one of my favorite moments from West in this entire season thus far, other than his full episode that we had earlier where he had, brain damage. But I thought that was just really great, and I love the little capper at the end where, because we keep cutting to McQueen, then when we do cut back to Vanson, she's asleep. It's a classic gag, but it got me. I didn't expect it. I was genuinely, that took me by surprise because I was so invested in the words he was saying and taking them at the genuine value of what was being stated that I was drawn and going, West, I love what you're saying, man.
And I... sort of on the flip side of that, I think that the dialogue of that is really well written. And I love the sort of visual gag of Wang through this whole sequence of he gets out of his hammerhead and onto the back of like a sort of cargo hauler mini truck thing.
That drives around, yeah. And he just falls asleep on it.
He falls asleep. But I love the way that all of the actors around him play that. Because the driver is just like,
hey, oh well.
Again. And then McQueen's bringing Wang's shit in for him. like this has just become a regular thing. Like he's picking up after Wang because he just immediately crashes. And just the sort of routine and mild annoyance that it's also like, well, he needs sleep.
And Shane finds it a cute thing. She finds it an endearing little quality.
That he can fall asleep anywhere.
Yeah, and they have little jokes about it. It makes the squadron feel alive.
And it's something that they've set up before as well, the fact that, like, Wang can just fall asleep fine wherever.
You feeling guilty about Hawks?
I'm a hot pilot. Best there is on this ship after
me,
McQueen.
We eventually get to the point where Commodore Ross realizes he needs to give everybody the R&R, even McQueen, because McQueen is even through exhaustion himself. So
he's trying to fight through it and not show it, but he is exhausted.
So he gives them 48 hours on this pleasure cruise and on this pleasure barge, on this pleasure ship, on Bacchus, and you saw his name in the credits, the guest star.
Coolio.
You responded very viscerally. You're like, Coolio? You weren't happy.
No,
that's not
it's just like stunt casting is a weird thing. And Coolio is a weird dude.
He was a weird choice for this. He even has the Coolio hair we all know him for.
Yeah, but then I was thinking of
Weird Al?
No.
I was thinking of Coolio through Weird Al.
Yeah, the hair, but no, I was thinking of in Fifth Element.
Oh, with Chris Tucker?
Yeah.
With his wacky hair?
Wacky hair and his wacky presenter style. I was like, oh,
yeah.
that's the same wavelength right there.
I actually thought Coolio was fine. I wish he was in the episode more.
He was fine. Yeah.
I actually kind of wish he was here more. He disappears after that introduction.
Yep, that's
and then he's gone. I thought he was going to be a running thread throughout the ship. And no, we don't even hear him on overhead speakers. That would have been neat. I would have really liked that to be a running little gag.
He's just a part of the greeting committee.
I would love to see the scene before where he's with his team prepping to get a speech all on the go for these Marines. And he's like, do you have that care package for Colonel McQueen? Yes, I do, Coolio. They have to call him Coolio. He has no name in the episode. He's just the man who greets them. But we have to mention Coolio because it is the most outlandish casting in Space Above and Beyond.
Mm-hmm, we do have another guest appearance, which is enjoyable, which is David Duchovny.
David Duchovny we'll get to, but I have many things to say, many statements, many questions, actually, some of which I have answers to. So we'll get the old Davy boy. But one of the things that's very important about R&R as an episode is we get to the pleasure ship, but before we get there, they set up a few of the characters' already ongoing conflicts that will be...
As well as the ship when they're out on patrol, which is a nice touch.
Oh yeah, they set up the Bacchus ship on their patrol, but when we go onto the ship, there are some characters with obvious dramas we will delve into and how that will spiral out of control or spiral into something interesting or cute or funny when they're on this extravagant location. And then others who don't really have that, but through TV, they're going to get something going on with them. Something's going to, even if it's minor.
Everybody will have their thing.
I want to talk about the thing, at least in my books, and I have no clue if this is the sticking point for you, but I want to talk about the thing that I don't enjoy about the episode is the Hawks stuff, the drug addiction, the green meanie subplot.
Yeah, no, I don't want this. I don't want the random extreme drug addiction plot.
It's a very after school special level of approach to it.
I know that some drugs really are like that, where it's like after one dose, people get hooked, especially like there is something to be said about genetic predisposition and they're building on that.
And prescription meds and things of that nature being a thing that can bleed into hardcore drug addictions. What I okay, this isn't fair to say. But it's a truth as a viewer. It's not fun. That's the truth. This episode's really fun. This episode's really exciting and has a lot of moving things.
Coop is a drug addict now.
It's not fun. Now, I can hear people say, well, in Dear Earth, the Cooper stuff and the McQueen stuff and even the West stuff wasn't fun. Yeah, you're right. But at some point, I have to say to that is those ones, though, were more layered, didn't feel like they came out of nowhere. They were things that were related to the ongoing continuity. We've never heard about this drug before. We've never heard about Tanks being addicted to drugs. This is the first time.
McQueen's personal experience as well.
Another tragic backstory for him. But it does tie into his divorce, so it's not as if it comes out of nowhere fully, but yeah, I just, this is just a very simple critique of, I just find it too dramatically angsty, edgy, ham-fisted, almost childish addition to an episode that isn't taking itself too seriously.
Wait, is this one of those episodes that was secretly funded by the US government to have anti-drugs?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know, but that is something to consider. But it's just not subtle. This is one of those issues where you have to treat it when you're in your stories, especially in your sci-fi stories. You have to treat this with a certain degree of tact, and there's just none of that here. And there's so many things that it brings in that we can pick apart and really go to town on, and some things that I just don't want to engage with because the episode isn't, but it does by bringing it up.
Like, McQueen gets so much of the exposition when it comes to the green meanies.
Yes.
And he sells it.
He does, but you see what it is, though.
I feel what it is, but I'm like, you believe it, good on ya.
McQueen gives the exposition, the green meanies, and I don't know, just Cooper Hawkes gets addicted to these drugs and he acts like a weirdo throughout the whole episode. He gets himself into...
What is the original purpose of the drug?
They're like a painkiller, basically. And so I understand that, but here's what I'll describe this as. In the series Battlestar Galactica, the remake that was done after this, they had the terrible episodes of that series would deal with the ships, like what was happening on the colony ships, the fleet. And where they would usually give them to Apollo, a character that's like the ace pilot, number one guy, the son of the head of the fleet. And he often would get these shitty storylines, like the episode Black Market, where we find out that he has a girl on the side who's a sex worker with a daughter who's in a blah, 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 blah. And this is what that feels like.
Yeah.
This feels like an Apollo script that was done before that character existed in the new Battlestar.
Those kind of faults exist in all kinds of shows.
I'll break it like this. I'm not against giving a drug addiction storyline to Cooper. I'm not against it existing in this series. I'm not against it because that is reality.
Yeah.
People fall into these, and I imagine...
Something to explore.
And I think there's actually something deeply interesting in exploring what happens in an elite military unit, the Marines. What happens in the Marines when somebody gets addicted to substances? I don't know. I can make guesses, but I don't know. This is what you could actually explore in the series. This could be or should have been an ongoing thing. Subtle build-up. Or, just getting us invested in it. But
not all in one episode.
Here's my problem, though. After walking out of his drug-addled story, I can't say to you that I felt bad for him, ever. I was just more annoyed by him throughout it. I was just crossing my arms going, really? And here's the problem. I was going to say, he's acting like a child. He is. He's 6. Yes. He's 6. So it's like, my critiques negatively have a defense built into the show, but it doesn't mean that I don't still not like it. Like, I still don't like it. Like, how do you feel about that?
He's previously learned the lesson to listen to McQueen, and he doesn't do that. So I can be pissed at him for that.
Right, but if there was more time spent on this, if this was a whole episode, or if this was a payoff to a series of episodes leading here.
Yeah, like if it was just sprinkled throughout.
I would be able to accept this more, but it's all just poured in here in a way where I, as I was describing the beginning with West and how you felt for him and you didn't get annoyed and I didn't put my hands on my hips. This is one of those where I crossed my arms and then put my hands on my hips going, really guys, we're going to do this? Come on, you could do better than this. Now,
did I scream at the TV?
You were very much...
When he was doing this?
You were very much more aggravated by Damfu and Wang, and we'll get to them. But here, you were just reacting very nonplussed, going, oh, okay.
No, I had more of a reaction when it came to the virginity stuff.
The virginity stuff. But, okay.
I do believe that I was screaming, oh no, my baby, they're giving my baby a drug addiction. So I would say that I did have a visceral reaction.
Now,
maybe.
am I being too callous when I say that I walked out of this episode not feeling bad or sorry for Cooper? Did you feel much for what he was going through and put through in R&R?
No. It worked out for him because he had easy access to the drugs. Even though he got busted by McQueen, he was shifty enough to have a third place where he was hiding a couple.
I was almost waiting for an airplane-like gag where it's like, now give me this, now give me this, and it just keeps unloading all of these different drugs that he has all over his person. When McQueen said, now where the second place you stashed it in case they found that, I thought they were going to go to a physical location.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be in another pocket.
No, he's got all
that's
of the pockets
thing.
in his flat suit.
That's the type of thing where that doesn't feel very informed. See, there's levels of, these writers have a clear understanding of how drug addiction works and what addicts are willing to do. But then there's that moment where it comes across as, well, no, guys, you could do, like, you're telling me that his secondary location is just physically
Another
on him
pocket.
again? The third one, fine, it's hidden in a pen. Clever, very smart. Okay, got it. But I was thinking, you're going to walk into another location and goes, here they are, and it's like in my boots or something. But no.
Now, where are the ones you stashed in case somebody found these? Good, that's good. If you need help, I want you to come to me. You understand me? I've been through it. I'll get you through it.
The thing about Cooper's story is it's not just about the drug addiction. You find out that he's a virgin. He's never even kissed he's kissed a girl.
He doesn't know how sex works.
He doesn't know how sex works. He ran away from school before that happened. They taught him about sex. They taught him about all the different ways you can kill, but not all the different ways you can fuck.
No, well, that's not essential.
Do you think they use the same? They use the same picture of the hand. That's like, here's all the different ways you can kill someone with your hand. Here's all the different ways you can make a person orgasm with your hand. Like, I really want to know that graph.
I don't think there is sex education on the in vitro curriculum.
I think there is because they've bred. Like, she has kids. The sex worker, she has a kid. Like, I feel, and she's a whore. Like, that's her job. Like, I feel like here's the thing. To get off the point there, that's fine. You know, Cooper being a virgin, and him having a boys' night out with Nathan West and being set up with
logical. I don't think there's a single time that I've enjoyed this story of dude's a virgin, mate sets him up with a hooker, known or unknown to the virgin.
You're right. There's very few times I can even give you an example of one that I've liked that from. Like,
I really never do.
The closest I can give you is something like Superbad, right? Where it's like, that's a whole movie about these two guys trying to get some and giving each other ways to get some in, like, duplicitous and gross and kind of bankrupted ways. And
there is one that I don't mind.
Yeah?
The first episode of British Skins, I believe, has a joke about that because it's all about them trying to get one of the characters laid for the first time.
See, there you are. My thing is, the drug stuff upsets me, but this upsets me quite a lot more, actually, because at least with the drug stuff, I can see there's a noble intention at heart, even if the execution is poor in my eyes. It could be done better. But when it comes to this, I don't feel like there's a truly noble intention because we meet this woman whose name I don't know. She has one, but I can't tell you because that's how little of a character she is to me. And just like in BSG's Black Market, we meet this woman who's going to be important to our male character. They're a sex worker. They have a kid. And the episode looks down on them. Like, it never looks favorably upon her.
No.
She's a drug addict. She's fueling his spiraling out on drugs.
Yeah.
She's selfish. She's in it for money. She's a terrible mother. Like, it never looks favorably upon her.
No.
And so it's like, what am I supposed to get out of this other than the writers now sitting back going, women and sex workers, whores, bad,
It's a
immoral.
very typical approach to portraying sex workers.
Yeah, but
It's like all of the tropes.
how does it make Cooper look good, though, when you end the storyline of him screaming in her face, throwing money at the baby, and walking out like he's just given this woman a moral lesson?
Yeah.
Because it feels like the episode's treating that like, Cooper, yeah.
I was ignoring the episode at that point.
It's truly embarrassing.
'Cause I was just
Even
like,
if they're trying to show us that
God.
Cooper's bad in that moment, it's still embarrassing. It's still poor taste. I don't like what the writers are doing to this secondary character of the episode. This poor, like, I kept shrugging, going, this poor woman, couldn't they write her a good character? Because you can write this character well. You can still hit all of these beats, but do it well.
Also, that just a trope that I really don't like with sex workers is I do drugs, so I forget how I get all of this money. Like it's something that I never really enjoy. To me, it's a weird circular logic of I do drugs because I'm a sex worker, but I'm a sex worker because I need money for drugs.
And my baby.
Yeah. But it's just like, what, like, if you're earning it that much money, hire a babysitter.
Where are the babysitters on this pleasure ship? Tell me that. Is she going to give it to David Duchovny?
They said that they can provide anything. Dreams come true on this ship.
The ship's existence is a big sticking point for me as well.
Oh, it's just like, and there's this.
I can't believe that the world of Space Above and Beyond,
And
where
it's
they've
leaving the thing.
the world of Space Above and Beyond, where they've only just now set up colonies on other worlds, has floating space stations flying from place to place that has whole colonies on it. I find that absurd to begin with. Like, there's just something about the idea of they haven't even colonized Mars. Yet they've made whole space stations, enough for them just to be pleasure ships. Here's a question. Who's using that? Because from
Before the war or during the war? Because
Both,
it seems like it's a
is it just
traveling R&R station now.
but for
pretty
the
much.
military? Because from my understanding, the world of Space Above and Beyond, until now, everyone's been grounded on Earth. It's only the military that are flying up into space and the corporations. It wasn't as if,
But it
we've only just gone to the stars. Now they're treating it like, here's an R&R planet. It's like Babylon 5 where literally anyone's flying about space and they can go to here. Before, I was under the understanding of literally it's only the best of the best or these certain people that are going to space. Not enough to necessitate this type of space station. Maybe if this was a base on an existing battle, like on an existing planet, maybe. But even then, that's pushing it, man. Like, and this is where we're straying away from the Cooper story again, because the Cooper story is boring.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that really frustrates me. I could be down with this if there wasn't the drug aspect from Cooper already. If this was a story about a guy wanting to lose his virginity and his best friend sets him up with a prostitute and he's not aware that that's what's happening, and then he finds out midway through and he becomes awkward and embarrassed, and it gives him and the sex worker a moment to have an honest dialogue between each other, and maybe they learn a thing or two and they connect as more than just clients, more than just the sex worker and her John Doe and all of that. Like, that would be far more digestible to me. It's cliched, it's been done a million times, but it would have given the episode on that front some heart rather than what feels very cynical to me.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that would have been better for you, or do you think that's still too much to ask for?
It's too much to ask here with where the state of everything else is.
Well, you got a kid living here?
I couldn't leave him back on Earth. Now get out!
And you're down in green meanies? Tanks can't handle them.
You do him!
I'm not a mom. I don't have anybody that needs me.
Just shut up!
Nathan West just casually is Cooper's brother figure now, and I like that relationship. Yeah. And he sets him up with this woman. I thought that was nice. I was like, okay, cool. Nathan West, like, he wanders from storyline to storyline. Nathan West, he just kind of weaves in and out, and he's just a casual observer until he bumps into McQueen's storyline, and he just and that has a nice little payoff in the very final scene. I didn't expect that payoff either.
No, I didn't either, and I quite enjoyed their choice of W.C. Fields for that purpose.
Because McQueen's story is, what's he doing on the pleasure ship?
He's watching videos and laughing his fucking ass off.
He really is Robert De Niro and Cape Fear.
He's relaxing.
Which is scary. It's weird to see him smiling and laughing and having a good old time. Yeah, he's watching movies. He's watching W.C. Field movies by himself, and Nathan West enters the rooms, and I like that McQueen gives him the dressing down, and then they're like, you know what, it's fine, it's not fun to watch, it's more fun to watch these with other people, and they both just have a good time connecting together, having just quietly enjoying a movie with one another. And I loved when we do get the Chig ground battle, that the battle cry into the action is him quoting W.C. Fields, and only West knows. And there's not even an acknowledgement shot of West. It's just, that West knows now points of reference that McQueen uses in his life, which is so cool, because how many times have you had that joy of, like, say a colleague of yours or whatever, you find out a little thing that they're interested in, and then you start to pick up that they use that thing in conversation a lot more than you realize, and you go, and now you feel like you have a private little thing with them.
You just understand them on a different wavelength now.
That's how I feel with McQueen in this. I was like, I wonder if I go back if he's ever quoted W.C. Fields in previous episodes, or will he in future?
Yeah, I wonder that too.
It's like Commodore Ross's guitar being introduced, where you go, please give me more of this, and they have. I don't know if they will with McQueen, but it's something where you could easily see them doing that as his little character thing, that every now and then he'll quote or reference an old movie that he likes. And, it gives him a bit more of a dimension, because McQueen's very fleshed out. We already like McQueen, but he's fleshed out in the very much, he's a great brooding character. So to give him this kind of shading is very much welcomed.
Yeah. Like they pointed out, I can't imagine you relaxing.
No.
That's what they say to McQueen.
No, you can't. And I just, James Morrison's having a blast in this. He gets to play a lot of different aspects of McQueen: tired, cranky, inquisitive, happy, joyous, leadership, all of those. And
so angry.
So angry. He gets really pissed off about those green meanies. And he just casually says green meanies. That's the first time
we know this.
Like, he says it as if it's a thing we already know, and I appreciate his conviction, because it's a stupid name for these drugs. It really belittles these drugs. Green meanies. It's just... When we come to the drug addiction stuff, it's also maybe we're tainted because we have covered Babylon 5, where one of the characters gets addicted to a drug in that series, and it's really well done.
I was actually thinking about stems at the start of this episode.
Yeah, stems from Babylon 5, with Dr. Franklin, right?
It stems in Battlestar, right?
I don't remember what their drugs is in Battlestar Galactica. It wasn't a real storyline in that one as often. It was like other characters, like the home, like the down and out characters and a few others.
Yes,
but yeah.
Franklin
in B5, he got addicted to stims, and it was a storyline that took the span of 2 seasons to really come to a head.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was drip fed.
And it felt honest. And we understood it. Not only did we understand how this character got to this place, but we understood the cycle of addiction. We understood how difficult it is to break, the denial, all of it, and how you can get out, and like how that character managed to get out of it, and how difficult it was,
and how support can't be enough if the person doesn't want to change.
And when it was introduced, when it was fully a thing that was introduced into the series, it did not end in a way where it felt like it was going to be a one-off occurrence. While this does feel like it's a one-off occurrence, even if it isn't, even if it wasn't supposed to be, it ends in a way where it comes across as if it is a one-off, as if it's just another random idea that's thrown out into the ether.
If you do it, you'll go through hell. How badly do you want to remain a part of the 58th?
They're the only family I ever had.
They're off ship. They have people of different genders who are attracted to different genders. So we must have a romantic subplot.
Yeah, we already went over Cooper and the lady.
Between members of the Wild Cards.
Oh, Shane and West?
No. He's still loyal to...
And you already said different
Kylan?
genders. So you already said different genders, so it can't be McQueen and Ross.
Nope.
And he's not on the ship.
Ross is back on the Saratoga.
He has his guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be by a power of deduction, Wang and Danfu, right?
Yeah! Process of elimination.
She's single
gives
now.
us this pairing.
She's single now.
Yep.
They're the most secondary of our
They
main
both
ensemble.
like shooting hoops. So they want to bang now.
Thoughts on this?
I don't like it. I hope it never comes back. I want it to go away.
You want to expand on why you're opposed to this?
It
Because I thought the
doesn't...
actors had good chemistry.
Yeah, they do. They do. But
Almost too good, guys. Calm it down.
it feels like, and we'll have this type of plot, and these two characters work for it.
I understand. Yeah.
And like, Wang's been horny before, so it's not a leap. But I would have preferred to see him continue with his bad pickup lines and still get laid.
Yeah, I would have liked a boys' night out with him and West. But West is the one that can't get laid because he has a girl.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been cute. They're wingmanning for each other. That would have been a neat little plot. So, here's the funny thing. You reacted very negatively to this. Yes. You were very much like, no, thank you. And I was chirping in with that a bit too. But you know what?
It's not the worst.
I would be fine with it. Honestly, I'd be fine if these two got together and had a relationship and got to bond and got to know each other more because
I don't want that in the show.
I would have been fine with it. I would have been fine with it, honestly, because I thought the actors were. Here's me. I thought the actors had good chemistry.
I don't want that drama.
Why does it have to be a drama?
No, because it's always a drama.
It doesn't have to be. Sometimes you can make it not. Delenn and John from Babylon 5.
They have their drama.
Yeah, but it wasn't that type of drama.
No, but still, there's conflict.
Oh, yeah, one of them could easily die at any moment because they're in the Marines.
And, like, Delenn betrays John's trust.
Oh, in Babylon 5, yeah.
And, like, there's the cultural differences and stuff that are exploited for tension.
But you could make it like Chakotay and Janeway.
Fuck off right now.
But you like the Chakotay and Janeway romance. I didn't say Chakotay and Seven. Chakotay and Janeway have a good on and off romance that never comes to full...
Flirtation.
I would be fine with that. Like, if they had a little flirtations
yes,
because
that but they never actually get together.
Here's why I'm sold on it. Now, I don't know about you, but
bold words. You're sold on it.
The ending. I thought the ending saved it and actually made me interested. Not just that, but there was, like I've been saying with the series a lot, but when I said it about Nathan West earlier, there was a maturity there where it came across as the writers looked at you and said, look, we just played with that idea. We're not committing to it, but here's why we're not, okay? Which is, I really thought it was wonderful to hear that these two characters looked at each other outside of the uniforms and realized that they actually could be together, that they actually could get on, that they actually could fall in love.
Chemistry.
And it's more than just chemistry, but like
romantic interest. And
they see something in one another, but they're mature enough, smart enough, wise enough to see that now that they're back in the uniforms, now that they're back to what they are, they can't do that.
No.
But it was nice to have that realization. They're nice for both of these people to realize that they are more than just Marines, that they are more than just cogs in the military machine. That there really wrapped it up in a bow for me in a way that I wasn't expecting.
I like that they. It is I keep on referring to tropes a lot in this episode, but it's full of them. The trope of like forbidden romance, specifically when they're like, no, we shouldn't, no, we shouldn't, no, we shouldn't, no, we shouldn't. We can't not do this. They're like, this could be a thing, but this can't be a thing. And they're very, like you said, mature about it. And it's like they both came to the same decision separately and then shared it in a very open and honest way. So neither of their feelings were hurt. And it's not like one of them's going to be like forlorn for the other for the rest of time.
Right. Or act in a way.
Or they're going to be fated for each other. It's like, this isn't going to work right now for either of us. And they both say yes, and they move forward.
It sits in the happy middle place for me when it comes to sci-fi romances in our ensemble, which is I loathe the romances where it's only insisting that they should be together, and I don't see why. Troy and Riker. It's always insisting, but I never understood what they saw in each other. They tell us, and they rely on those actors, and it isn't good enough. I also loathe the romances where it makes both characters dickheads. Apollo and Starbuck from BSG. This is the most we've ever brought up BSG, but that's because this episode actually really reminded me of lots of elements that Battlestar Galactica would go on to use in bad ways, weirdly. And the other type of romance I'm bored to tears of in sci-fi is, even though I will admit it's the one I do prefer, is the Picard Crusher relationship of the will they, won't they, unsaid, but
they can never be.
And there's no real reason why they can never be. That's the difference. There's no real reason, but we, the audience, always know. They know. Like, we know. We know something that... It's like, it's not only that. It's we know something they haven't acknowledged to each other. And so you get the joy of that. I'm sick of those. I like that this is more direct to the point without falling into any of those other three. I'm happy that they weren't dickheads. I'm happy that they weren't so chaste romance that it's annoying. And I'm happy that I can actually believe that these two would have a romantic interlude, even if it's for one day.
The right level of emotional.
See, I want to be a bit more like you. Like, in my heart, I want to reject this more, but as I keep saying with R&R, there's levels of this as a viewer that I can't deny myself. And this is one of those where I actually found myself going, I'd be okay to see this pop up again from time to time. Do I need it as a core central arc of the series? No.
And if I don't expect it to come back in the next several episodes.
No, not necessarily. But if this did go on, I could have seen this pop up as a little thing like once or twice a season as we went along, or maybe 3 or 4, but that's okay. I was okay with it. I'm curious to hear what the people listening out there have to feel about that, because there's also the commentary to be made that people often would look at this now of it's so easy for a series to lump these two minor players together because it gives them the appearance of something more. Because we have talked about how Danfoos and Wang are given less than the other people in the show. So to give them this gives the appearance of something greater, because on the basic human level, love is one of the key tenets of what it is to be human. So you can easily just throw a romance in there and it makes it come across as, see, we've given them something big, love.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, can you do more than that though?
Look, I don't regret what happened for a second, but
the moment on planet, it just really wasn't like it was on R&R.
Some R&R.
We got Shane Vanson playing a game of billiards and pool against a sexy
little
David.
Black dress.
Oh, you're talking about her sexy? I'm talking about David Duchovny. Sexy motherfucker. I'm not joking. This era of David Duchovny, you know why they called him Fox Mulder.
Yeah.
He's a fox.
I think this is the sexiest he's been.
Well,
like
I've seen him in his red Speedo in X-Files, so I know how sexy he can get.
This era.
Oh, yeah.
Like the mid to late 90s was a highlight for that man.
It was a highlight. Did you know? He's a big dick. That's a fact about him.
Yeah.
And he has a sex addiction, which is part of why Californication exists as a series. But there's episodes of X-Files where they've talked about that they had to give him like those kind of flared trousers, those like biggie baggier trousers, so you could see less of an outline of his big dick. And honestly, awesome. Awesome. There's an infamous episode where he's in a red Speedo and he demanded that he be in Speedo because he thinks Mulder would swim in a Speedo, which, by the way, lie? That's a lie, David. You fucking liar. You're a freaking liar.
There's less for things to grab onto him.
The conspiracies wash off of him easier. Yeah. So you said this one, the Shane story, was the one you gravitated towards the most.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about it and why this one?
Okay. I buy that she's awesome at pool. This is something that is apropos of nothing.
It's just because she's awesome.
It's just because she's awesome and she has...
Which she does remind us in this episode that she's awesome.
Pool cue. That's her secret weapon.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember her exact wording when, like, they're like, what's in the bag? She's like, my weapon. I buy that. I buy that she's had this the whole time and that she is the kind of person that hung around at pool halls and got really good at pool and putting up with the bullshit of the other people that are there. Because she is a hustler. We know this. So I can see her doing this so that she has grocery money for her younger siblings when she's taking care of them.
And she's a shit talker.
Yeah.
We know that. Even in this episode, I wasn't joking. Like, she reminds us she's awesome by putting down West of being like, well, but after me, of course, of being the best pilot. Like, she's
genuine. That's a genuine statement.
She
from
thinks
her
her
as well.
shit don't smell, and she's a shit talker, and so pairing her up with an opponent who is offended by her prissy attitude was ripe for the picking when watching a plotline about Shane.
She cleans the floor with him at the pool games, but then there's a reveal, a twist of identity that he's actually an AI.
What was that? I couldn't hear you. He's actually a what? Sorry?
He's actually an artificial intelligence.
An artificial. Shh. They didn't say silicate.
Shh. We can't.
He's an AI. He's an AI, everyone. He runs the spa.
Nobody could tell because he was wearing sunglasses indoors.
So was everyone else, admittedly. And not all of them were AIs. None of them were, I don't think. But he is one of the...
He was sent there by the company.
It's an aerotech base, which, again, aerotech... Come on, guys. What are you doing?
Profiteering.
Oh, capitalism bad.
In space.
In space. I love that her story is she's just playing pool. Everyone else is having dramatic stuff or poignant stuff.
She's cleaning up.
She's earning some dough. Now, to give it some fair credit, it does challenge her because it's her father's pool cue. She has this deep relationship with her parents because they were murdered in front of her because of these AIs. So revealing that the opponent she's been playing against this whole time is an AI.
And that's the point where she starts to get unsettled.
Well, he was already unsettling her because he was predicting things about her. And I want to ask you this. Do you think, because he's a silicate, do you think he was just doing the hustler thing of like picking apart at her from just cues, like haha cues, but like from just signals? Or do you think he did the thing that we know them to do, which is just scan through and just go, oh, this is it?
I think he searched.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that that's one of his functions, right? Is to give a certain experience of the pool hall. He says that he's there to play pool and do impressions.
That's why he's been doing this silly voice the whole episode, because it's supposed to be Clint Eastwood. They don't tell you for ages. So you're wondering, why is David Duchovny doing this?
Yep.
Why, oh, why? And then when he does explain, you still go, why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I agree.
So I believe that he uses his knowledge and his abilities to help craft that experience, because that's what he's been designed for. He's been programmed for that. And especially because she walks in very knowing of the culture of pool halls.
She's cocky.
Yeah. And like specifically using the word shark. And there's connotations culturally for that. And I believe that AI would be programmed to be
Fuck
a
with her.
pool shark.
Yeah.
And to do that successfully, to use the knowledge base that it has at its disposal.
And we also know that the silicates develop their own personalities the longer they are active in what they're doing. We just saw recently a silicate had fallen in love with another one. That's not in their core programming. So I get the feeling that he has lived being a pool shark so long that he actually is embodying and becoming a real life instead of just a programmed golly gee, he's playing around with it. And I do not know if he searched her up and is fucking with her like that. I couldn't get a read on it necessarily. Like, I couldn't tell you definitively, oh yeah, David Duchovny did this in his performance that led me to this, but
it's I think this.
I think
I see this, so it means that.
But I think it makes the episodes, this particular strand in the episode, all the more juicy to think about it rather than being told one way or the other. Now, where this falls apart for me, and falls apart may be too strong, but where I question things when it comes to the world of Space Above and Beyond is he's here. not to say that silicates all need to have evacuated and left like we were led to believe, but I find it really hard to comprehend in a world where we had the AI wars, where AIs are basically like the enemy. They will kill them on sight, like they don't trust them, that there is an AI and the implication that there are other AIs that still exist on human-based colonies and ships and so on and so forth, and they just are around while still being active in the way the other silicates are, because they're all that way. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it. This comes across to me as a neat idea that they didn't think about the grand context of what they've laid before. Mm-hmm. Did that take you out of it? Did that come to your brain at all?
Yeah, I was like, this makes no sense, but I accept it.
I just don't accept it, because also I didn't find David Duchovny very good.
No, he's not. I found it fun because he was bad.
Harsh truths, people. You may get angry, you may throw your phone in the air or fire your guns up in the air going yee-haw, in case you do agree with me. I don't think David Duchovny is very good outside of X-Files. I just don't think I've ever really liked him. I loved him. Okay, I'll take it back. Zoolander, love him in Zoolander. I always forget it's him. But I just don't like him as an actor very much. I don't think he's very strong outside of X-Files.
Yeah, I think he's a very limited actor. There is a thing that he can do, and he's managed to make a career out of that. Mm-hmm. And it's...
There's only two things he can play.
It's a little bit baffling.
There's only two things he can play, and one of them becomes the second thing, which is he can play Fox Mulder, and he can play David Duchovny. And eventually Fox Mulder becomes David Duchovny. And David Duchovny, like Shatner is Kirk and Kirk is Shatner. Same with Fox Mulder and David Duchovny. Whenever I see David...
really true when it comes to Californication.
Californication, or that weird detective show he did, or Evolution, like... And here, I just felt his performance, while all the other silicates, they were obviously performances, but I just didn't feel it. And now you could go, because he's doing the silly voice and it's revealed he's doing an impression. No, there's just something about...
that's not it. That doesn't account for everything. It is a part of it, but it doesn't count.
I want to give him the credit, or the benefit of the doubt, I should say, because as an actor, I want to respect the craft that he's putting down. He's successful. He's gained, a following, but I just never stopped seeing that he felt that the cameras were on him. Mm. There was just a way he held himself that he played it like, the camera's on me now.
Yep.
And this was the time period where that was getting in the way of X-Files as well, where he was I'm Mr. Shit. I'm so fucking cool.
Do you think or do you have answers to why is he here? And did they write this for him? Or did they go, hey, you're on the lot?
So I want to answer that right after we give our rating. What would you give this? Because things I may say now may affect that. Okay. So what would you give R&R? A yum or a yum yum? Bad or good? What was that, sorry?
Yum.
Yeah, I give it a yum as well. Yeah. So R&R is an episode that in every single commentary track on Space Above and Beyond that I've listened to, they reference R&R as...
dunk on it?
The point in which they go, this is when things were out of our control. So whenever they mention studio interference or the networks or those producers...
This is the point of no return.
They always reference, that's how we got Coolio. Or that's how we got R&R. This is why R&R exists. And David Duchovny exists because the show was spiraling down the drain. It was having a hard time getting audiences. It was having a hard time getting the acceptance.
Let's pull in a known name.
Glenn Morgan, James Wong were... David, could you come onto our show? Do us a favor. This will help the show out if we have an X-Files person on, because let's never forget, X-Files was a big deal.
Yeah. Even it would have gotten a boost.
Even if the network hated X-Files, it was still a big boost. So David was brought in as a favor, basically as a transfusion for the show, like give it some blood.
Yeah, give it some blood.
And so R&R is an example that they usually point to in their interviews, commentary tracks, and even fans point to as, you can see how there's the bare bones of Space Above and Beyond, but it's having to cater to so many different things, and so it's a mess.
Yeah. Like, I saw that.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up after we rated and reviewed it, because I think that even more firmly puts it in the Yum category, which I knew you were going to rate it as that same as with I. But
it gives context, but these last couple episodes more and more have felt like they were orchestrated by the studio, and the voice of the creators is getting fainter and fainter.
I really have felt like that since Pearly. I thought Dear Earth and The Angriest Angel and like a bunch of those felt like so much like the show.
Yeah, like Pearly definitely. This even more so, but even some parts of Dear Earth felt like they'd been shifted a little bit. Like we did get the new
opening credits and the bar sets,
and we would have got like if the studio wasn't interfering, I think they would have gone a little bit harder.
Characters got haircuts. Like there are visual signs of this. But R&R is a mess. It's we keep saying it. It's sloppy. It's catering to too many things. It is an example of what happens when the higher ups get involved and tinker with a series, and yet I would say it's still all right. Like it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's not a good episode, but it's not the worst. I would say that it's bad.
As a creative person myself, if this happened to me, I would also point to this episode in the series as like the sticking point, because thus far, it is the clearest example of that. And I can definitely see someone like Glenn Morgan or James Wong, every time they think about Space Above and Beyond, R&R would float to the top of their brain, and you would throw your hands up in the air going, I can't believe. Because there are things here that are so this series. Like, there's just things that could have been whole episodes on their own, and yet they aren't given that chance to breathe because we've got to have Coolio in there, or we've got to have a sexy lady, and so on and so forth. But that's all we've got, people. Let us know your thoughts on R&R. You can contact us on our social medias and follow us on there. You can email us over.
You want to do the plugs before we say what the next episode is?
Yeah, we'll do that first. You know, we're switching it up this time, Rachel. Email us over at yumyumpod@gmail.com. Rate and review the podcast on whatever podcast hosting site allows you to do so. And make sure to give the next episode of Space Above and Beyond a watch in the meantime. Now, what is that episode, Rachel? What's the title of the next one?
Stardust.
Any thoughts on what Stardust is? I don't know. I have no clue.
I have two ideas. One of them is that there's a person who's like, we're all made of stardust, and that we're all made of atoms from the beginning of the universe bullshit. Which sometimes I buy into and sometimes I don't.
See, us and the Chigs aren't so different, man. We're made from stardust.
Yep. Two, they're literally trying to get a substance that's nicknamed Stardust for the war effort.
That's not bad. I like that idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the silicates have it, and they need to get it from him or some bullshit. Or the Chigs have it locked away in a bunker, and they need to go down. And
it's the replacement for Soul Fuel.
Oh, I miss Soul. I miss that fucker. But that is all we have for you now. Make sure to do all those things. Now, we have a Patreon where we do a bunch of bonus content, including the Space Above and Beyond coverage. If you're listening to this on the main feed, all of the coverage of Space Above and Beyond is available on our Patreon because we did it for our patrons first. So if you want to hear what we have to say about the remaining episodes, including Stardust, head on over to the Patreon. Support us on there. It will be greatly appreciated. But Pags, I thought about him a lot too. What would he have gotten up to on Bacchus? I actually came up with an idea. Now, I don't know if you have any ideas of what Pags would have gotten up to, but I thought he would have had the storyline with Coolio, where him and Coolio hung out, and he wanted to know about the business side. Like, Pags would have went with him, and he would have got an understanding of the economics of the ship, and he would have got to help plan the DJ party that would happen later in the night. I'm not joking, that would have been an excellent plot line for a character like Pags.
I have an alternative, which is a couple of episodes ago, we had Vincent struggling to get a phone call home, right? My pitch is that Pags is on a journey to, like, get a phone and to call his mum.
Yeah, that would be it. But unfortunately, he's dead.
He's gone.
Here's to Pags.